It's late in the evening, 50 miles off the coast of Libya. Hundreds of people, men, women and children, are fighting for their lives. Some won't make it. This is the reality of life and death for the many thousands of migrants who risk everything to head across the Mediterranean, hoping for a better future in Europe. This film tells the inside story of the maritime rescue ship Aquarius. Its 10-day journey to save the lives of hundreds of people and how it found itself at the center of a diplomatic row that threatened to split Europe apart. On a Friday morning in early June, I headed for the Sicilian port of Catania. I've been reporting on the refugee crisis for over 3 years, and I'd arranged to spend the next few days on board the Aquarius, a maritime rescue ship that patrols the Mediterranean looking for boats in distress. What I didn't know was that I would be reporting a story which would create a diplomatic crisis, one which would expose the fault lines in Europe's migration policy. As we prepare for our journey, we stock up with food, water, and warm clothing. At 6 o'clock on Friday, June the 8th, we set sail. We're currently leaving the port of Catania. From here, it will take us some 15 to 20 hours to reach a search and rescue zone on international waters. The Aquarius is run by 2 charities, Médecins Sans Frontières and SOS Méditerranée. In the past 2 years, the ship has helped some 30,000 people. It's not uncommon to find pregnant women on refugee boats, so there's even a trained midwife on board. Amoua Suleiman is from Senegal, and this is her second mission. On her first one, she had to deliver a baby at sea. Its name, perhaps appropriately, was Miracle.
C'était formidable.
C'est formidable?
C'est formidable. Ça fait plaisir d'aider quelqu'un avec le sourire et que la maman est contente, le bébé est en vie, le bébé crie. C'est une joie inestimable. On n'a pas de mots pour exprimer la joie.
This year alone, more than 30,000 refugees and migrants have arrived in Europe from the Middle East or Africa. Crossing the Mediterranean is often the most dangerous part of the journey. Last year, over 3,000 people died in the attempt. In October 2014, the EU stopped doing rescue operations and instead began to focus on controlling its own borders. The Aquarius and other charity missions now have to fill that gap. But some people argue that their presence actually encourages more migrants to take their chances. The charities say it's now even more difficult for them to do their job.
C'est malheureux parce que y a des gens dans le besoin au milieu de tout ça et qui subissent et qui sont qui sont déjà vulnérables et qui sont mises en plus grand risque et en danger à cause de décisions politiques. Dès qu'on a des personnes à bord, ils nous demandent de quitter la zone alors qu'il y a très peu de bateaux dédiés au sauvetage et du coup ils nous font tourner le dos à potentiellement des personnes en détresse.
At around 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, just over 12 hours since we left Catania, we get our first distress call. We hear that some 300 people are drifting without power. There are several boats in distress. One has been picked up by the Libyans, and we've been asked to assist 2 others.
About 45 minutes, 30 minutes away. At this point, the distance is pretty great between the two, so we won't be able to.
Max Avis leads the rescue team. He knows that this will be a complex operation.
We'll stabilize that boat, so offload any additional people and provide life jackets, probably in the opposite order, hopefully. Yeah. Once we're happy the risk of crushing and drowning is reduced, we'll move both boats to the second target and the ship. We'll try to encourage them, if they will listen to us, to drive their functioning rubber boat, if it's functioning, to the second target.
The next few hours will be difficult and dangerous. Back on dry land, there's an ominous warning from one country which feels it has been unfairly affected by the refugee crisis. Italy has taken more migrants this year than any other European country. In early June, the new Interior Minister, Matteo Salvini, visited Catania and reminded everyone that the country now took a hardline approach on immigration.
Il mio interesse è lavorare per ridurre gli sbarchi e aumentare le espulsioni.
Those words should have been a warning that Italy was now effectively closed to ships like the Aquarius. Back on board, we're heading east at full speed. The migrants' boat is about 50 miles north of the Libyan coast. We're just a few minutes away from the rescue. The boat is going to be loaded on the water, and we are expecting to find some 100 or 120 people on board this boat that is in distress. By the time we reach the rescue area, it's almost 8 in the evening. We approach the first of the 2 rafts. There are around 100 people on board. They've already spent nearly 24 hours at sea, probably without food or water. These migrants would have been only hours away from death if the rescuers hadn't arrived on the scene.
Hello, everybody! Hi, my name is Max, okay?
First, Max has to make a rapid assessment of the problem. How much water has a raft shipped already?
Is there any water inside? Water? Is it deep or no? How deep? Like this? Okay.
Next, he has to find out if anyone needs medical attention.
Hey, my man, what's wrong with you? 1 second, guys.
At this stage, it's all very orderly, though we won't stay that way for long. First, everyone's given a life jacket. The first few people are loaded onto the lifeboat. We head back to the Aquarius with our first group of migrants. After offloading the first group, we head back again. Now the light is fading and the atmosphere is changing. The migrants are becoming worried. Max knows it's important to reassure them. The volunteers now have to work quickly.
You guys at the front, get very calm and safe, okay? Do not move, do not get on the raft.
As Max hands out more life jackets, several people suddenly make a grab for our boat. There's a risk that we could be overturned in the commotion. We have to back off quickly.
Back. Okay, we're going to have to do a bit of crowd control. Yeah. Then we're going to move in. Drago, someone you loaded with life jackets as we go. You will be okay, but you cannot do this. Can you move raft off, please? Raft off. Guys, hello, it's okay, it's okay.
The lifeboat is forced to move back again. And now the migrants are getting nervous. They fear they're going to be abandoned. Max tries once again to move closer.
Guys, I can help you if you help me. Okay. So now let us jump this back. Hey, you guys, very good. One by one.
They finally manage to get a second group of people on board. But because of the chaos, they can't take a full load.
Back.
By now, the rescue has been underway for over an hour.
Okay, let's see, we're gonna have to keep on doing this. Wait. Okay.
Back on board the Aquarius, the crew is doing its best to process the first group of migrants. They're worried about one man who's been separated from his wife.
There's a guy up here, number 16, that's his resident number. He said his wife is on the rubber boat. Okay. Just for your information, he's asking about her. His name is Solomon, but number 16.
On a à peu près 140 personnes à bord déjà. Donc il y a deux bateaux. Il y en a le deuxième bateau qu'on a approché en fait il y a eu des complications. Il y a des personnes qui sont tombées à l'eau.
The vests are still being packed, repacked, so that they can be sent back on the boat. There's another boat in distress not far from here.
This rubber boat immediately. We're both going to have to focus on this right now.
Our lifeboat heads back again, but there's a new problem. One of the migrants' rafts is now leaking.
Not good condition.
Max, is it too cold and said the sponsons are not in good condition on VHF 73?
The migrants are now starting to panic. Once again, the lifeboat has to back off.
Back up. The situation is flipping, okay? Far side. Max! Go around the other side, this is going to go a bit fucked up. This off there, we're going to keep out of
Max can see that the side of the raft is giving way. Several people have fallen in.
More life jackets, let's go. Let's take it. Forward a little bit. Forward. Hold them, more life jackets.
In the pitch black, it's impossible to see how many people are in the water.
Closer. Moving in.
Once again, there's a risk our lifeboat could be overturned. We're forced to back away from desperate, drowning people. The rescuers are doing their best to keep control of the situation.
Second line.
It's at that point that I learn there's a pregnant woman on the raft. Over the next 4 hours, our lifeboats shuttle repeatedly between the two rafts and the Aquarius. 219 people are rescued. It's only later that we find out 2 of the migrants drowned.
Bounce off.
The new arrivals are helped on board. Everyone is checked for any smell of fuel. Diesel reacts with seawater and causes burns. Anyone who's come into contact with fuel needs to wash it off. By now, it's after 1 in the morning. But the night's work is far from over. In addition to rescuing over 200 people, we're asked by the Italians to take on several hundred more who've already been picked up by the Coast Guard. Some of the volunteers believe that the politicians are simply trying to wash their hands of the migrant problem.
On l'a vu très récemment avec la politique italienne. On parle beaucoup de ce contexte et de cette crise migratoire. On a le sentiment que les considérations politiques passent avant et sont priorisées par rapport à la sécurité des personnes qui sont en détresse, et ça c'est indéniable.
The new arrivals are checked in.
26? Where do you come from there? You are welcome. English?
The reception is rather different to anything they've experienced recently. We've been going now for 9 hours. This is the 3rd transfer that we're getting. There are roughly 500 people on board Aquarius right now, and the Italian Coast Guard is now here dropping off these people who were rescued in a different area. Some people need medical help. Others are just relieved to be on board. As dawn breaks, the true scale of the potential disaster that the team helped prevent becomes clear. There are entire families, 7 pregnant women, young children, and over 120 unaccompanied minors. Many of the 630 people on board are in desperate straits. Some are fleeing persecution at home and are traumatized by the last few days at sea. Soniata is 23 and left Sierra Leone with her 2 daughters, Memuna and Khadija. The family has been on the road for almost a year. After Sierra Leone? Guinea. After Guinea? Mali. After Mali?
Burkina Faso.
After Burkina Faso?
Niger.
Why did you leave?
Because they want to put my baby society. I do not want them to put my baby society, so I decided to leave the country.
Where do you want to go?
I want to anywhere where so comfortable for me and good to stay there.
And for the children?
For the children, also for the children.
The Darabou family is from Morocco. They moved to Libya for work, but were forced to leave because of the civil war.
هربنا من الحرب في ليبيا. انت تشتغل بالليل وبالنهار ويقدروا يجيو يديوا لك فلوس كاملة.
I asked the father, Ali, how he could risk his daughter's life on a flimsy raft.
ما البحر ولا الظلم في ليبيا. من الظلم في ليبيا.
ما فيش مستشفيات والله.
مدارس بيستعملوهم سجون. بيستعملوا المدارس سجون. مرة مشينا للمستشفى باش نعملوا لها تحاليل. كان في واحد بيفتشوا عليه في المستشفى، صار ضرب بالنار في المستشفى. وسط المستشفى.
Other people began their journey as economic migrants, simply trying to find a better life. This is Reward. He's 20 years old and from Nigeria. He was told by traffickers that the journey would take 3 months, but he's now been on the road for over 3 years.
My actual dream from my childhood really was based in Canada, actually. I was having in mind to be a pilot.
Told me that your trip didn't go as planned.
Yeah, it didn't go as planned.
You spent some time in Libya. How was that?
The life there, I don't sure I can survive a day. I was like shooting every time. Even in the workshop, I was working out, threatening of guns, like if you don't do this, you'll be shot. Like threatening was severe day in and day out.
So when you left Nigeria, you were 17.
Yeah.
Why did you leave?
The prevention is better than cure. I rather secure my future when I'm still able and strong enough to do it than when I'm old and feel dizzy to do it. I have to take it straight.
And there's another person I meet. This young man from Sudan is a close friend of the 2 people who drowned last night.
Captain, the ship, tell me, my friends died. I am so sorry.
Later that day, Max Avis explains just how difficult last night was for the rescue team and how close they came to losing even more lives when the rafts broke apart.
Suddenly, because the bottom falls out, the tubes come together. People crush each other inside. It's very dangerous inside. You can get trapped in there. At the same time, we were being hit by the swell, so the bow section destabilized and about 50 people ended up in the water without life jackets. And most of them can't swim. It's really scary. I always say it's like looking into hell. You know, I really don't enjoy it. I find it, I enjoy that people are safe. That's kind of my objective, and I enjoy the teamwork and being on the ship, but witnessing that many people in a near-death situation is really, really, really scary. I think initially I was just passionate about the ocean, passionate about the technical side of rescue and the fact that it was for a good cause. You know, so my background was in rescue in the United Kingdom. I could not stand by as this happened, especially with the skill sets I had. So I quit my job, and this has been my job ever since.
The migrants may be safe for now, but the big question is, who is going to take them in? Italy's new hardline policy means they are about to become the focus of a major diplomatic row that will put the whole of Europe's migration policy in question. All rescue missions in this part of the Mediterranean are supervised by the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center in Rome, and they call, telling us to head north. Nicola Stalla is the key point of contact on the Aquarius for the Italian authorities. With so many migrants on board, he's anxious to get to a safe port as soon as possible.
And we have a crew of 30 persons who are running the ship and managing the situation. So you can clearly understand what is the reality we are talking about.
That afternoon, Italy's Interior Minister Matteo Salvini makes clear that following the new hardline policy, Rome has no intention of allowing the Aquarius to dock. But, he insists, Italy's ports are closed. The Aquarius should be directed to Malta instead, he says, as the capital, Valletta, is much closer to where the migrants were rescued. But within hours, Maltese Prime Minister Joseph Muscat also makes clear that they won't take the migrants either. The confirmation that we have been refused access hasn't reached the Aquarius yet.
We have yet to learn which one of the ports will be chosen for this drop-off. There are more than 600 people on board. They are tired. They want to get to safety. So we continue heading north towards the east part of Malta and towards Italy.
But a few hours later, around 40 miles off the coast of Italy, we're ordered to stop the ship. Next morning, we're anchored, still waiting, still hoping for news.
We are well prepared and we have food and water enough to keep these people 2 to 3 days. But yeah, this is not what we wish because It's overcrowded. People are sleeping in the deck. It is not comfortable at all. They are weak, tired, exhausted.
By now, several hundred miles from here, the refusal by Italy and Malta to give us access is escalating into a major row with the European Union. In Brussels, the European Commission makes clear they think Italy and Malta are not living up to their responsibilities.
We are talking about people. Over 600 people, including accompanied minors. The priority of both the Italian and Maltese authorities should be ensuring these people receive the care they need.
But Matteo Salvini denies that Italy is to blame for the standoff. He says they had the situation under control.
Noi non abbiamo respinto, noi abbiamo chiesto ad altri paesi più vicini e più sicuri del nostro di fare quello che facciamo noi da anni. Ci è stato risposto il no, la nave Aquarius stava ancora in acque territoriali maltesi, non c'era nessun problema sanitario a bordo, c'erano 4 motovedette della Guardia Costiera pronte a intervenire, di cui non è stato richiesto da bordo l'intervento, quindi evidentemente non c'era nessun problema.
But back on the ship, problems are mounting.
Stop for the equipment, please.
With over 600 people on board, we're starting to run short of supplies. Some migrants have medical problems. This woman is suffering from dehydration. The volunteers are doing the best they can, but this is the first time they've ever been denied access to a safe port.
What is the next step now?
We are constantly keeping updated the MRCC Rome with the situation on board that is obviously at risk of deteriorating. The health of the people we have on board is at risk.
The Aquarius is fast becoming the test case for Italy's new commitment to stemming the flow of migrants. But later that day, there's a major new development in Madrid. Spain announced that they are prepared to welcome the migrants.
Las autoridades valencianas están preparadas para acogerles. Después yo ya no sé el procedimiento que se va a seguir, pero por lo menos no se van a ahogar. Yo creo que el problema no es de Italia, el problema no es de España, el problema no es de Grecia, el problema es de Europa. No podemos todos mirar para otro lado mientras el problema se resuelve mal por parte del que lo tiene más cerca.
The offer from Valencia is a possible solution, but it's far from a done deal. We can't head for Spain until the authorities have officially allocated Valencia as our final destination. And before that can happen, the Italian government has to formally accept the Spanish offer. Until they do, we're left stranded. The news goes worldwide.
Annelise, what is the situation on board like?
It's a crowded boat. The vast majority of people rescued are sleeping outside. They're sleeping on the deck. They're exposed to elements.
What are the conditions now on the ship, Annelise?
These people on board are exhausted. Some of these people had been on board for just over 48 hours now, and they had spent at least 20 hours at sea.
Écoutez, Annelise Borges, elle est à bord pour la chaîne Euronews.
La chaleur est insupportable. Beaucoup de personnes ici à bord m'ont dit qu'ils ne voulaient absolument pas rentrer en Libye.
That evening, the crew of the Aquarius finally gets word that the Italians have approved the offer from Valencia. But the volunteers decide not to tell the migrants the good news yet, because by now there's a further complication. Valencia is between 3 and 4 days away, and we've just heard there's bad weather ahead.
This is bad.
Yeah.
This is not very good. With this large amount of people on board and on this ship, it would be unsafe for the ship, her crew, and all the rescued people on board to perform this travel from this position until Spain.
So for now, we're forced to wait once again until some of our passengers can be offloaded. The next morning, the Italian Coast Guard arrives with much-needed supplies. They've also agreed to take some of our passengers. The plan is that we then all head to Spain in convoy.
That the intention is to proceed to Valencia after transshipment of a number of rescued people. This will allow the Aquarius to remain with a number of people on board that can allow for safe navigation from this position until Valencia port.
One of the volunteers now breaks the good news to the migrants.
So we were waiting the confirmation of the Italian government. So we will drive you to the port of safety in Spain.
So we're going to Spain. Yeah, thank you. We're happy. You're happy?
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Really happy.
Yeah, we are happy.
What do you know about Spain?
Well, not really that I know something about Spain, but as far I'm here about the country, I would love to be there.
Reward, the man from Nigeria, has a very important job to do the moment he gets to Spain.
Land first is to call my mom, but I have not yet called her. That's the first and foremost thing. It might be difficult at the first time since it's a different language entirely and different environment, but as time goes on, we'll have to cope with the situation.
And the Italian government, they suggest to us to give us 2 more ships to divide you into these ships. If we divide you into 2 different other ships, all of you will be in a comfortable situation.
This is still a dangerous operation, even in good weather. That afternoon back in Paris, France turns up the heat on Italy. Government spokesman Benjamin Griveaux lashes out at the way the Italians have handled things so far.
Dans cette crise, l'Italie s'est substituée aux autorités libyennes puisque le navire Aquarius était dans les eaux libyennes, et elle s'est substituée sans aller jusqu'au bout de la démarche. Et il y a là la preuve d'une forme de cynisme et d'une part d'irresponsabilité du gouvernement italien face à cette situation humanitaire dramatique.
In Rome, Matteo Salvini issues a response.
Il problema è che la nostra storia di solidarietà, generosità e volontariato non merita di essere apostrofata con alcuni termini da parte di qualche esponente del governo francese che spero e penso dia le scuse ufficiali nel più breve tempo possibile, sono state usate nelle ultime ore.
By Wednesday afternoon, we're heading west between Sardinia and Sicily. Now the expected bad weather is arriving, and that spells trouble for everyone on board. It's now urgent to get everyone safely back inside.
People are being moved from the deck to inside the ship. Even though the deck is covered, the waves are getting pretty high. We are now facing swells of 2 meters, and the next few hours we're expecting this movement to double. The waves are going to be as high as 4 meters.
My friend, are you okay? Okay. Shelter, you come with me? Okay. Always grab the line.
So we're moving people inside, not because of how it is now, but because what's coming. Already we're noticing people getting very sick. So for the last 4 days they've gone from literally drowning and being resuscitated to being stuck adrift at sea, and now they're being shipped across 4-meter swells to get to a country that is nowhere near the place they were rescued in the first place. So this is a horrendous and dangerous thing to be doing to people who are already vulnerable, as vulnerable gets, right? Survivors of the shipwreck who drowned. And this is what's happening now.
That night, we head closer to the coast of Sardinia to avoid the worst of the weather. But it's still a very bumpy ride. Most of the passengers are seasick. By midnight, the worst of the storm seems to have passed, and with Valencia around 3 days away, we stop in the Bonifacio Strait between Corsica and Sardinia.
We just stopped to receive some supplies from the Italian Coast Guard. They just dropped off these supplies that include food items, but also some toys for the children aboard Aquarius.
A few hours later, we head west once again. Over the next 3 days, the mood on board brightens up. The crew gets a chance to dish out the presents that the Coast Guard dropped off last night. It's time for a party. Amouin Suleiman, the ship's midwife, leads the dancing. And although they still got a long journey ahead, the passengers and crew are hoping that the worst is over.
I want to take a picture with my children. Coming. All the babies.
Back in Paris, French President Emmanuel Macron is now trying to mend fences with the Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte. He's keen to stress that he didn't intend to offend the Italians. It seems peace has broken out for the moment.
Ma col presidente Macron c'è una perfetta intesa, come potete vedere. C'è stata una telefonata, l'abbiamo anche annunciato, con un comunicato congiunto in cui ci siamo perfettamente chiariti.
The light of Spain. I have seen the light of Amen, Amen. I have seen the light of Spain. I have seen the light of Amen.
Dawn on Sunday, and there are indications that land is not far away. We've got some unexpected visitors. Everyone is curious about what lies over the horizon. There's an impromptu Spanish class, a chance to learn a few essential words. Then, at around 10 o'clock, after 7 grueling days on board, land is finally in sight. It's time for celebration.
Everything is well.
I feel very free. I'm very happy of myself today.
Did you learn some Spanish words?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Hola, hola.
Love you. Thank you. Love you. Love you guys.
But there are still many questions. Will these men, women and children be given a real chance to start a new life in Europe? And what will that life be like? Then there's the issue of asylum. It won't be granted to everyone. So what happens to those who are refused? For the Aquarius and missions like this, the future is equally uncertain. Will more countries follow the lead of Italy and Malta and turn people away? And if charities aren't allowed to continue their work, who will then patrol the Mediterranean, ready to save lives?
This is a happy ending for the people on board. It's particularly concerning future for us, which is uncertain. So there's many more people still in Libya. There's many more people trying to cross right now, and we're 700 miles away. So.
As the ship pulls into Valencia, the world's media assembles to witness our arrival. This is it, the site that they have longed for days. They are this close to reaching Europe, this close to starting this new promised life in Europe, one they have risked everything to achieve. The joy and relief of stepping on dry land soon give way to emotional goodbyes.
You read me, huh? Okay? You read me with my mail, okay? Yes. I miss you. Take care of you, huh? You will be a doctor. You said it, huh?
Yes, I will.
And you will treat me. You will do it, huh?
I will.
I'm not kidding.
Don't cry.
Okay, it's okay. I'm not afraid. choice, okay?
Bonds of friendship have formed between the volunteers and the migrants. Parting ways is especially difficult for those traveling alone.
Thank you. I'm gonna miss you.
For the Darabou family from Morocco, it's a new beginning. And Sunyata from Sierra Leone now has a chance to build a new life with her daughters.
Abou, mon ami! Bravo, Abou!
Reward too gets ready to leave. He can only hope things will fall into place.
Yeah, a little bit nervous actually. It's like the way things are going was not as we expected. We thought all hope was lost, but you guys received us, and our hope was again. We don't know how much to thank you. So any way we can, we sure do with our very best. If we can't make it good, we'll make it look good.
And to look good for his new life, Reward has put in a little extra effort.
I'm always here. You want to see my hairstyle? Let's do it there.
Oh, wow, nice.
Reward is the last one off the boat. He now begins a new journey. First, he's going to make sure he finally takes the chance to call his mom.